Hey everybody, it's Krista with Magnolia Ridge Farm and Gardens, and I'm going to do a little bit of a different video today. I am out here in my chicken lot, and I came out here for a couple reasons, but we're going to be talking about chickens today. So I thought, why don't we get out here with the chickens? And that may have been a bad idea. So I gave them some food because they were being really noisy, but now they're just being a different kind of noisy. So I don't know if that worked or not, but anyway, we're sitting out in my aviary, which is where we keep our mixed flock of laying hens. And I call it an aviary because we do have it in sections, and it is all covered and enclosed, so nothing can get in, and they cannot fly out. So it is a completely safe environment for them. We do free range when possible, but when we have a predator issue in the area, until it's taken care of, we only let them out when we can be out with them. Currently, we have had a fox in the area, and so they get out in the evenings when we are outside with them, or in the afternoon if we're going to be working outside, and I can have the dog out here to protect them. So for now, they are enclosed, and I'm keeping them enclosed right now because I actually have to leave in a little bit, so I cannot let them out to free range at the moment. But what I want to talk to you today about is I posted something on my Facebook earlier this morning, and it was an article about Tyson foods, and I've kind of been chewing on it all day because it really struck me. I don't want to say it struck me wrong, but I mean, I guess it did. It just didn't sit well with me. And, when I read the article, I just, I kind of posted it on my farm page where a lot of my farmers market people follow me, and was like, hey, this is happening. Here's the article. If you want good quality chicken, come see me. Buy local. And I mean that. But I was gnawing on it. And I know I'm not a news channel. I don't have a degree in, the scientific background and stuff. My degree is in marketing, and my background is in, photography and farming. Like, making pretty things and good food to eat just because my family's been in it. But I follow, and I have been for a lot of years. That sun is going to try to blind me here as it comes through the trees. I follow a lot of agricultural news, and I volunteer with the agricultural department a lot. So I keep up with things that are going on and that are going to affect me as a farmer, and me as a small business. So I want to go back in time and give you some history, because I don't know if everyone is keeping up with the news and the trends, and I do. I keep up with a lot of things, and I'm not going to go into politics and world news and things like that, because that's not related to this channel. It is in how I handle things and how we do things, but it's not directly related to what I'm saying. But this, I feel like, is a conversation that I want to have and I want to put out there. So we'll see how this goes. So I had to adjust. So let's take a little history lesson, and I'm going to link all these articles and things in the description box so you can go do your own research, and I'm sure you can probably find things that go against what I'm going to say, and that's fine. I'm going to put it out there, and I'm going to put what I think about it, and if you come to a different conclusion, that's great. But what struck me about this article was it just immediately went against everything that I had been seeing trending in the past few years. And it made me stop, and I was like, I don't know that that's true. So I decided to go back and dig based on things that I remembered coming up. And the first thing is, and this is easy to find, but back in August. Actually, I think they announced it first in March, but then in August they updated and it said Tyson is closing. Originally, I think it was 3 facilities by October of this year and 1 by March of next year. But when I went back and digging, I actually found some references that they were closing more facilities because originally they didn't include ones in Virginia. So so Tyson chicken processing, and they process more than just chickens. They don't just process raw chickens. They make frozen foods. They do a lot of different things. But they were closing specifically at least 4, if not, I think I saw something about 6 processing plants. And in where they have these plants are usually small towns, and like Wilkesboro and Virginia and places like that. And, you know, a few of them are close by me, which is why it kind of hit our local news hard. And so when they close these plants and you're talking about laying off, you know, 1,500 people at a time or at a time that all live in these small communities, that's a huge hit to these economies. And so by October of this year, they're closing 3 facilities in Arkansas, Missouri, and a 4th in Indiana by March of next year. Would y'all be quiet? Apparently not. And the CEO, Donnie King, actually said, and I wrote some notes down so I wouldn't forget anything, that this was part of a short-term efficiency play as they focus on profitable growth strategies. Hey, Guinea, hush. Shush, shush. I am not your enemy. Stop it. Stop it. Anyway, this is going to be fun. I keep having to turn off my phone because someone's trying to call me. But anyway, so, and they stated, and this is one of the things that really caught me. Some of our live production suppliers and family farms will have opportunities to get out of this business. Opportunities to get out of this business. I think that's probably the first thing that struck me wrong. That's not an opportunity. And, you know, I know a couple of these farms personally, and that's not an opportunity. And they worry, and they have bills to pay, and tunnels would you knock it off? You know, tunnels to pay for and to fill up, and it's stressful. This is not an opportunity for them. But I'm not going to get off on that tangent. There are 140 Tyson food processing facilities, and that includes the prepared foods like the frozen meals, etc. So he is claiming that their Q3 had lower chicken and pork prices and lower beef demand, dropped sales by 3%. And so that justified them in shutting down plants because, quote, our plan has always been delivering sustainable top-line growth and margin, I can't read my own writing, improvement, margin improvement. So we're talking money here. He's not talking about quality of product. He's talking money. So if your sales dropped 3% over this past quarter, I'm going to say that has to do with inflation and people's food budgets being smaller and not being able to afford as much. So they're not buying the overpriced meat right now. That's my opinion. Because this is what struck me. Not that other things in the article didn't strike me. But price of chicken is up. supplies are down. So you're telling me sales are down when demand is up? So this is what I did. I went back and looked here. The bottom line is they're focused on money over quality product. Look, we live in a free market society. Businesses take risks. They deserve profit. I'm not arguing that. Let me move again. I'm going to be playing peekaboo with the sun, apparently. So, anyway, they did, you know, I looked at some of the trends in the market right now, and the trends are, especially in America, towards prepared foods, which are cheaper, they're more convenient. That's what people are accustomed to. And it's heartbreaking because you have on one hand this, Cruella, honey, what are you doing? Stop messing with my camera. On this one hand, you have this trend of homesteading movement, which has just grown by leaps and bounds since the pandemic. And on the other hand, you have everyone else buying cheap processed foods because no one can afford ingredients of any quality whatsoever. So that's heartbreaking to me. But let's dive back a little bit further. Reuters reports record chicken prices hit all-time high amid shrinking grocery budget. So, one, I was right. While Tyson dials back production to boost margins. So, they're dialing back production to create a shortage to have a higher profit margin. Okay? Their projected take this year is $54 billion. Billion. Which gives them a remaining flat profit margin amid inflation and stock crisis from last year. So they're doing this and cutting 4,600 jobs so that they can have the same profit margin that they did last year. Look, I'm all about profit margins, but we're coming out of a pandemic. We have record inflation. We have wars going on. We have people who can't afford groceries. And this is going to make it worse. All right. So consumers are yet again paying the price. The index shows chicken profit margins are at their highest ever. So if your sales are dropping by 3%, it's not your profit margin. So let's go back a little bit further down the history road. We all remember that crazy pandemic from 2020 and how everything went insane. Poultry production declined in 2020 due to shifting demands. Y'all, this lighting. All right, let's see if that's any better. Okay, so where were we? All right, yeah. So, and that was due to the 2020 shifting demands. That was due to restaurant closures, reduced shopping, family gatherings, loss of jobs. Everything that happened during the pandemic was impacting sales. Okay, we get it. Then the economy tried recovering, but they had reduced production. So that made supplies super tight and the demand increased and they couldn't meet demand. So then we had supply issues. And this was from the 2021 poultry site. So do you remember the egg shortage we had at the beginning of the year? Let's talk about that. It was blamed on the big avian flu pandemic that we had in 2022. Do y'all remember that? I do. I actually put tarps over my coop here and my run so that my chickens could go outside and I didn't have to worry about birds flying over and pooping in here and making them sick during migration. Was it a bit excessive? Probably a little bit, but we were just coming out of the crazy pandemic and, you know, I didn't want my birds getting sick, so I did what I had to do. So that caused further meat shortages. It wasn't just egg layers. It was meat birds that were getting hit really hard. I mean, entire farms were shut down. I remember them having to gas and burn tunnels because one bird got sick. And so you had hundreds of thousands of birds in these big polytunnels that they raise them in, meat birds and production birds, and they were killing the entire tunnel because of one infection. So it devastated some of these farms. We personally could not get Cornish cross birds to raise out, or turkeys hardly at all that year. So we did not have the numbers that we normally would have had. So it was like all the hatcheries that we can order from as public consumers had switched their contracts to fulfill the supplies for these big producers. And so we couldn't order anything. So speaking of burning, then you had January 23, we had, amid all of that was going on, 100,000 chickens were burnt at a top egg producer after a fire did the same a month before with, tens of thousands of birds dying. And so I went into looking at that because that was a huge conspiracy theory. I remember about all the facilities that burnt, all the warehouse, food production warehouses. And then all of a sudden it was like all the egg crisis hit, and then all the all these barns started burning. And the National Fire Prevention Association did this big article saying, it was debunked. It was a conspiracy theory that, you have an average of 4 fires a day at anything that holds stock animals because you have, dried dander and hay and all this stuff. But my only take with that, I'm not going to argue with them. They have the research, they have the numbers. But you're talking about, possible, including all barns and all stock facilities. So you're talking about my coop burning down versus hundreds of thousands of birds meant for public consumption in the midst of a crisis. That's the numbers. I will post it. You can do what you want to with it. It was a direct attack on, they mentioned certain right-wing commentaries by name, and, were like, they're just contributing to conspiracy theories, which I don't really, I follow one of them on Twitter, but I don't follow the other one, so I don't know. I don't get on Twitter very much, but I know who it is. Anyway, so in 2022, you had the mass numbers of deaths of birds from avian flu, from fire, from whatever. Tens of thousands of egg-laying chickens burnt in June 2022 on Forsman's farm, and they sell 3 million eggs per day to the nation's largest retailers. So this was right in the midst of that egg shortage. And I had neighbors and all these people coming to me during that. I never raised my prices. I felt like some people around here were price gouging because they were selling their eggs for, $6, $7, $8 a carton because people couldn't find them at the stores, and the store prices were $9 and $10, and they were like, oh, ours, and I never raised my prices. I kept it at $4 because at that specific time, my feed didn't go up. Our feed has increasingly gone up and up and up and up over the past 4 years with inflation. But at that specific time, our feed was not jumping in price because of the egg shortage. And so I kept my eggs at what I had priced them at for my cost of doing business, which is my overhead, which is how you're supposed to price everything. And so I, couldn't keep up with the demand on eggs. $4, everybody was buying them. And then what happened, as soon as the egg prices went back down to like $2 at the store, all those extra clients dried up. So there was no loyalty in our local economy to local farmers and small people like me who, bailed these people out, I feel like, because we stayed consistent and we did what we needed to do to provide a service to the community, because I was, meeting people and getting them eggs. I was letting them come to the farm and not just at market. And as soon as they got a lower price, it didn't matter about quality. And that's just where people are at, especially with inflation, because they've got to give up something in order to afford their groceries. And so right now that went back to egg prices and chicken meat and things that they can get lesser quality of in the grocery store than, you know, the I guess the morally correct way of raising meat that everybody loves, the better tasting, the better quality, but they don't see those extra few bucks as worth it when they can't afford a box of crackers right now. So I'm not going to get into that. That's really a whole different conversation. I saw a statistic that America goes through 8 billion chickens per year. I don't know. I didn't see where that was broken down. I don't know if that's just meat chickens, if that includes, you know, laying flocks being culled out due to age. So I don't think fires are unusual. No, I don't. Do I think the scale of the fires at that given time were unusual? Yeah, I do. Could it be coincidence? Yeah, it could. So anyway, while we're on, you know, talking about avian flu and how it affected chicken and turkey, in 2022, according to, I think it was the New York Times, turkey was 20% higher than the year before, but CNBC said it was 73% higher at Thanksgiving. I tried to find out what the stats were on this year. As far as prices, I don't see anything indicating it's going to be higher than your typical inflation of what's going on right now. I did have trouble sourcing turkeys in the middle of the summer when I needed to get them to have them raised up in time, because when you're doing the meat birds or meat turkeys, the broad-breasted, you need 14 to 16 weeks to get them to the weight that you want. So I had to get them by a certain date so that I could process them by the beginning of November, which is just a few weeks away. So at that time, I had trouble sourcing them because that's when probably everybody was sourcing them. I did find batches of turkeys later, but they would not be ready in time for Thanksgiving. And I already had, 100 meat birds coming in scheduled, 3 weeks ago. They're out in the barn right now. And so I didn't want to purchase young turkey poults, have them, in process of being raised up, but not being able to be put with the older ones, and then messing up my scheduled meat bird delivery of the baby chicks, because they would not have been able to be mixed at those sizes. So anyway, I did not get any more turkeys. I only have I think we have 7 that I was able to source early in the year. So I don't really have enough to sell. I mean, you're looking at, I went 2 years ago, I was able to get 40. Actually, I had more than that. I think I had 48 turkeys that we raised out and sold. And then last year we were able to get a hold of 10. And then this year, even though there's no avian flu, I was only able to get 7. So small producers really suffer the consequences when it comes to stuff like this. So that leads us to Tyson has announced that they are buying into insects as a viable production. That was the article that I posted today that really got me going. Was they are investing, I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, 350 million or so, I don't remember. Anyway, I may have it in my notes, but they're investing in partnering up and becoming a minor stakeholder in an insect for meat company. So that just kind of ticked me off. Here you are laying off 4,600 people, mostly in the South, devastating small towns to improve your profit margin and get into insects as food. So I did a little research on this movement because, you've been hearing about it. And according to studies, insects have no more nutritional value than standard meat. And there's not as much known about their safety and nutritional value, their effects on digestion and bodies, just studied as a protein substitute, and their cost per land mass and environmental impacts to raise them. That's the big thing, is They don't take as much space, and they don't take as much impact on land to raise them to get the same amount of protein. However, what they're not telling you is because you eat the whole bug, you don't, part it out and get rid of certain parts of the body, like the pituitary gland and things like that, you are more susceptible to chemical contamination, toxic metals, etc., that are in these bugs. So the insect market is predicted to grow by 3.3 billion by 2027. The Canadian government just invested 8.5 million, hundreds of millions in startup grants, including by Bill and Melinda Gates and by our own USDA, have been given to these companies. There's like 8 main ones. The industry participants are growing market share through strategic production launches, acquisitions, and partnerships, just like what Tyson just did. And they're putting them in things like pet foods. So here is a quote. Insect protein is highly prone to various allergic risks, both human and animal. It's still in early phases of research and has high risk of various unknown allergic and associated diseases that cannot be treated on an immediate basis. And that stood out to me because I have food allergies, and I also have severe insect allergies. Ant bites on a normal person will just have little bitty welts, and on me it can cause issues for days and swelling and skin irritations. I mean, you can see on my arm, probably right here. So you see those patches? That's skin irritations from a flare-up that I just had from passion fruit vine. So, and that's what insect bites can do to me. I mean, my whole hand was swollen up. My arm was swollen up. And so I have gotten stung a few times this year. Yes, we have bees. And every time I get stung, I have to go to the doctor, and get steroid shots. And I have to have an EpiPen on me. So you're going to put these different things in our foods that we haven't studied that you don't know that you can treat if I were to eat it. So that really stood out to me. Food, the major buyers in the insect market are food and beverage companies, dairy alternative manufacturers, and the feed industries. So insect-based products that are already here in the U.S., because the Western world is not keen on eating them outright like some places. But pet and livestock food, protein powders, protein bars, chocolate, and flour. Those are already products that are here in the U.S. that have insect things in them. Now look, y'all, I buy this stuff. I'm not opposed to insects being used or farmed or harvested. This is my chicken's favorite treat. It's the 100% natural mealworms. They go crazy for these things. They love them. I buy them. I am not opposed. See? They love them. I am not opposed to buying insects as animal feed, especially for an appropriate animal. Chickens eat bugs naturally. So why would I not feed them? So, I'm not opposed to the industry. I'm not mad at the industry. I'm just bringing awareness to the issue and giving you things that I've learned. So we're bringing it back to today, to this article. Tyson has partnered with Protix, and again, the CEO, quote, advances joint work towards high quality, sustainable protein using innovative technology and solutions in a to-be built facility. So they're not using a facility that they already have and modernizing it. They're shutting these facilities down. 4,600 people are losing their jobs, devastating small communities to go into partnership to produce insects and spend money on building a new facility. These are the things that jumped out to me today. And yet I have people who have been purchasing chicken from me who can't afford to purchase chicken from me, even though my prices haven't gone up because of inflation and, supply and demand issues causing prices of products to rise, like chicken at the store, causing people's budgets to shift, their priorities to shift. They've got to buy, they've got to pay their rent, they've got to pay their electric. I guess what I'm saying here is I am struggling with this information today. I am a very small scale producer. We do this mostly for ourselves, and we try to sell a little bit extra to supplement what we spend, because we do buy animal feed. There's insects in it. I get that. Great. Thanks, Tyson, for, helping out the animal feed industry. That's awesome. But I'm struggling with all these people losing their jobs based on a 3% sales loss, supposedly in the highest profit margin market of chicken ever, in a situation where the demand is already so much higher than the supply, amid crazy inflation, wars, devaluing of the dollar. I mean, there's so many different things that go into this. And, we have such a small profit margin because it is so much more expensive to do it on a small scale because of, the price that you're paying for feed versus buying in bulk and, things like that it's hard to wrap my head around, because I still want to provide the best quality of food I can for my family, as well as have a sustainable supply for my family. And, these breeds right here, no, these are not all meat birds. These are not all sustainable birds. I do have several in here that are dual purpose birds that we can breed, and we have eaten the roosters when we've hatched our own. Come here, baby. Hi, baby. So yes, these are, somewhat sustainable. These are not Cornish Rockin' here. We buy Cornish Cross. I know a lot of people have gotten out of the Cornish Cross because you can't breed them on a scale because it's a difficult breed. We personally prefer them. We like the time investment because it's only 8 to 10 weeks on each batch. So as long as we are able to get them, we will continue to raise those. That is our preferred bird. It's just the most cost effective for our size property and the amount of yield that we can get from it. Should those become scarce and unavailable again, we have the ability to breed dual purpose birds to get a decent supply of meat. We even have breasts. I mean, that's become a big thing in the homesteading community, is the breasts birds. And Living Traditions just did a review on the breed, and they love them. I am not crazy about them personality wise. I have 2 hens and a rooster. They are mixed into, here's the rooster right here. They are mixed into this flock because I am not trying to breed them as a meat bird right now. I am using them as layers, but we have the ability, if push came to shove and we ever needed it, to breed our own meat birds here. But until that becomes an issue, we are going to continue to do the Cornish Cross because that is what we prefer. Taste, growth, time investment, monetary investment, that's just what we prefer. So I know this is a long video, and if you made it this far, congratulations, woohoo, thanks for sticking it out with me. In my confusing, rambling, informative craziness, but I had all these thoughts going around in my head because I've kept up with, the news and the agricultural news and everything affecting egg prices and chicken and quality and meat and feed and fertilizer and everything that affects the homesteader and the farmers, because we have to know in advance so we can take precautions and make plans if something we're doing is not going to be sustainable for the next year. So, yeah. So that is what is on my mind today. And, if you've got more information or you have thoughts, whether they contradict with me or not, that's fine. Go ahead and post them. Let's get a dialogue going. I'd love to see what you have and tell me what you think. So, and tell me if any of that information changes how you view your homestead, or if you're not a homesteader, how you view small homesteaders like me, small farmers, shopping local, store. Tell me your thoughts, because my mind is literally just going in circles, chewing on all this information. And so I welcome other points of view, because my point of view is very specific to what I do. I mean, I'm sitting in a chicken lot and I raise meat birds and we process them and we have eggs. So my point of view may vary greatly from the average person in a housing development who doesn't have chickens and who does a 9-to-5 job, and they just want the ease and convenience of a stouffer's dinner on the stove. Tell me what you think. Hi, klutzy girl. All right. Thanks for sticking it out, and we will get back to being in the kitchen and the regular videos that I, know more of what I'm doing. I'm not a journalist, but I just wanted some place that I could talk this out, and this seemed like the appropriate place to do it. So we'll see you on the next one.